challenge you to do is hold your hand right here. And we're going to take a deep breath on my count. On the count of 3. 1, not yet. 2, and 3. Breathe in. Let it out slowly. One more time. Breathe in. Let it out real slow. And what I want to do is challenge you to be present. Because a lot of times in our lives, we just rush and do things throughout the day. And when you're present, God showed you and speak to you through different things. There's a reason why college is a breeding ground for many millionaires, entrepreneurs, songwriters, business owners, innovators, and most creative people. Do anybody agree? All right. How many of your lives will forever change if you earn a degree or a scholarship or be able to be signed on the athletic department? No? Yes? Okay. So I want to challenge you to raise your hand. Everybody, come on. Repeat after me. I'm chosen. I'm talented. I'm a game changer. I'm a leader. I'm different. I'm valuable. And I'm powerful. My name is Tony Shivers. I'm a native of Asheville, North Carolina. I'm honored to be here, to be graced in your presence. I thank you for allowing me to come into your space and be able to minister to you as well as tell you my story. I thank you for Miss Rachel for allowing me the opportunity. It is not taken lightly. This is an honor as well as a respect. And I'd like to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Because without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I don't know where I would be at. So I want to lift up a scripture today that's coming out of Luke 4, 35 to 41. You don't have to go there. I want you to work on the skill of active listening. Because we need that in society now. If you don't have the skill to follow directions or have active listening, most of the time we end up having to start right back over. I didn't learn this skill until I was about 26 years old. Be quiet, Jesus said sternly. I'm reading out of the NIV. Come out of him. And the demons threw the man down before them all, and he came out without injuring him. All of the people was amazed and said to each other, what words are these? Think about that. With what authority and power he gives to impute spirits, and they come out. And the news about him spread throughout the surrounding area. Jesus left the synagogue and went to the home of Simon. Now Simon's mother-in-law was suffering from a high fever, and they asked Jesus to help her. So he bent over her, and he rebuked the fever, and it left her. She got up at once, began to wait on them. At sunset, the people brought to Jesus all who had various kinds of sickness, and laying hands on each one, he healed them. Moreover, demons came out of many people, shouting, you are the Son of God. But he rebuked them and would not allow them to speak, because they knew he was the Messiah. So what I want to talk about today is how the power and authority of Christ supersedes anything that happens in our life. Not only did he command the spirits to hold their peace, they had to, and he didn't want them to reveal who he was before the known time that he wanted to be revealed. So I'm going to break this down to you, and then I'm going to give you my story and testimony in the midst of this, so I can show you some things that how God is evident in our lives, even when we don't recognize it. So the devil threw him on the ground in the midst of the people and still did not allow him to hurt him. There's a lot of things in my life when I was in college that I did, and it still didn't allow the enemy to hurt me in the process. The word had traveled fast about the miracles that Christ was performing. Under what authority and power he commanded the unclean spirits to come out, and they came out. He left the synagogue, and he went to Simon's house in a rebuke of fever. I thought when you rebuke something, you correct it. So this is a spirit that he rebuked, meaning chastise this spirit to come out of her. And then she got right up and started doing what she loved to do, ministering to the people. I know when I've been sick, my body want to rest, even after the fact that I've been healed. You need at least 48 hours to get your strength back, your sense of smell and everything. So just to get right up after the fever being rebuked shows you the power of Christ. It left her immediately, and she started ministering. But before the sun went down, there was diverse diseases all over. So he laid hands on them, and they were healthy. Devils came out of many, crying out, saying, "Thou art the Christ." He rebuked them, suffered them not to speak, and they knew he was the Christ. How many of you know the richest place in the world? What's the richest place in the world? Anybody know? Give me a shot. Where? No, that's not it. Where? Dubai? No, that's not it. Who we got? No, that's not it. That's not it. Richest place in the world. Y'all give up? What you got? There it is. There it is. The graveyard. The richest place in the world. Many people die with dreams. They die with talents, unwritten books, businesses that never was performed, songs that never was written, poems that never been able to be spoken. These things die with the person that's supposed to be able to share it in the world. So the richest place is the graveyard, meaning there's visions, there's inspiration, talents, everything that is given to you. And unless you activate them, when that time comes, they will leave with you too. So I stopped here to be straightforward with you and allow you to see the power of Christ when he speaks into these spirits. So I want to talk to you about the pitfalls of college. You don't think there's no pitfalls here, right? So the pitfalls of being a student, I'm just going to read down the list, and it resonates to you. You don't even have to raise your hands. Unexpected bad news at home, being homesick, addiction, peer pressure, bad company, being lazy, selfish, rebellious, misuse of credit, learning your identity, popularity, unproductive time, unhealthy sexual relationships, core beliefs, experienced childhood, trauma, and the impact of the person who is carrying it. Insecurity, self-esteem, mental health, trust issues, partying too much, financial security, and employment. Do anybody agree? Alright, so what God has allowed me to do is come and to share my story in so many different ways that it's been so scary that I know it's only through the grace of God that I'm able to be alive and well and doing what I'm doing. It's in order to be who God called me to be, I had to first recognize that the spirits that was in me, that God commanded them to come out. Not only am I an all-conference baseball player, tried out for the Atlanta Braves, was going to school for accounting, my college experience wasn't pleasant. Within 30 days, my roommate was killed, thrown out of the 8th floor window. So I started partying, I started drinking, and I left school. So when I went back to school, I was facing 783 months for conspiracy, and I was going to school in the penitentiary of North Carolina. Not only for the first time that I had to be able to figure out what authority that God was speaking into my life. I was thinking about the things that I've seen, that I'm sure this is not it, what God had for me in my life. Even though that I was one of those Christians that sit in the back and never profess the power of Christ. I was like Peter, denying him every time that I turn up, what they called it. Every time that I was drinking with the homeboys, every time that I was smoking with my friends, I was denying Christ. I was one of those guys that was so much in my rebellion and my frustration to the Lord. My dad was killed when I was 8 years old. That played a part. So a lot of things build up, and not knowing how to deal with them, they play out in different parts. So the story behind me being an all-conference baseball player, it wasn't that I had good coaches. My frustration and anger with my father being killed at 8 years old, that baseball was the only identity I had. And so when people went home after practice, I just now started practicing. I found a coach that would stay with me after every practice, 2 or 3 hours after practice, and keep playing the game of baseball. Not only did I run into a coach named Damon Tao, Kent Cox, and I trained with these guys, and we went on traveling teams, and it might have been one here. One of the guys was a coach here. And they taught me some things that I never could have learned on the field. But then I figured out that my life was more than baseball. And so all through school, I was one of those guys that would get into a fight and get kicked out of school, and then get into a fight and then get kicked out of school. Because I didn't know how to deal with people cracking the jokes about mom and dad, and I didn't have my dad. And then when prom and all these things came and people had 2 parents and only had one. And my mom worked all the time, so she would never be there. So I had to invite an aunt or someone and act like that was my mom. So all these things that I had to deal with while I was growing up. And so this plays a part where Christ is showing you that even through all these different things, the diverse spirits and all these things, in my culture, see, we was taught not to express our feelings because that's a sign of weakness. So I grew up detached from anybody emotionally. Because one, they teach you, if you share your feelings with someone, they'll eventually take advantage of you. And so now, I'm breeded from this age to have trust issues. I don't really trust you because I don't want to share anything about me that you can learn, and then you can use it to hurt me in the long run. So I'm only going to tell you enough to not run you away, but keep you around. Because as human beings, we want to have friends. So even through my experience in going to prison, while I was there, I was one of the angriest people in the world. Not only did while I went to prison, one of my best friend's girlfriends told on me, and they never caught me with any drugs or anything. But this was a sign that God was showing me, and when I reflected back, that if he wouldn't have never allowed this to happen, there would not be a minister, Tony Shivers. Because I vowed to die and do the things that I was doing, because I was loyal to building gangs. I learned, when he's talking about the diverse spirits, I figured out that my power and influence, I was using it for all the wrong things. I was a young man that was scared, but I used it as a form of bullying. So So through frustration, through anger, I figured out how to listen to a person talk about everything that they loved and did, and I used that same thing to win them over. If I knew that you was a guy that was a big heart, you played ball, you was aggressive, I would just repeat those same things to you. Boy, you look good, you aggressive. And then I would give you money and stuff, and now I got you too. Same spirits, same kindling spirits. So now God has allowed me to know who I am as a person, and the more I rebelled and the more he was showing